she come, she'll know. You're never going to have this chance again. He's never
Kiss
going to be
him.
that old again. Watch her go.
I know, because I was yelling at her for crying the whole way here. And I
Of course you should cry. Kiss baby.
I might be doing it.
It's a miracle, huh? She was in pain.
She's stiff, please. She's not comfortable.
His first diaper.
I can, sure. Yeah. All right, thanks.
Okay. He's telling you, Karen.
Sorry.
Got a knock on my back.
Poor one, you have to go to the show. When is she gonna start nursing?
As soon as they're done with him.
Did you decide?
He had a bath, right?
Yeah.
He's got red marks on his stomach.
So how old is he now?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 days. 4 days and 1 hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's just hanging out. You want the tape? He's just hanging out. Enjoying the new milk that's come in.
He's so cute.
Look at the handsome fellow.
He's his chin.
Handsome fellow. Can I take a picture of the masked father? He's still masked. No.
Tomorrow.
He's gonna be unmasked.
Mm-hmm. You can see me for first time.
I think he was sucking his thumbs in the womb because there are all red marks on them.
Really?
I'm like, no.
You
Don't.
look nice.
No, not until I look in the mirror.
Somebody is so handsome, huh? You have to chase all the girls.
Look at his feet.
His feet is not as red, huh? It's a little prince.
He's a poo-poo prince.
Poo-poo prince.
He's the prince of poo-poo. I want to get him yawning. I love his yawn. It's so cute. You gonna put your hand out?
Oh, bless you.
Bless you. Little upchie.
He's on camera so young already, huh? Now you movie star.
He likes when you play with his fingers and his feet. He's strong. He's so strong. You're looking at the camera. What are you doing? He's such a good baby. He just hangs out, not crying.
That was every day, huh?
He had this his third time today.
Really?
But he used to get on the line of my belly too. So.
He's a royal prince.
Mm-hmm.
He's so spoiled already, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted more spoiling.
Yeah. He's gonna get it.
Are you bugging him?
No, he likes
Mama, bug him.
it. He likes it. He knows I want him to do it, so he stopped. He's very smart for his age. Very alert. He knows what's going on.
Yeah?
Talk to him, he'll look at you.
Uh-huh. He's touching you back. He's like, where's the thing I can suck on? Where's the pump for the milk? Where's the fountain?
Yeah, he's lucky it got filled yesterday.
Where's the milk
He's
fountain?
got some good milk.
Achee! You're looking at me. Achee! He's smiling.
He smiled, he looked in the mirror today and he smiled. Oh, he's not doing his big yawns. I like that big yawn.
Let's try not to rewind and fast forward ever this day, no matter what happened, okay?
Yeah, I never did.
Never even review the pictures on the camera if it's not finished.
Okay.
Because you can always edit it later.
Well, it's good you didn't film that birth because I would have recorded over it. I was screaming and screaming.
I didn't record that anyway.
I'm glad because I was screaming too much.
Well, I couldn't do that because of you holding my hand.
Oh.
I just started videotaping after he was on that little thing. And I got that.
Okay.
And I got when he put him on a weight, then I measure him and everything.
He's the sweetest baby. He's so good.
Oh, you don't have to hold it, right?
Yeah, me?
Huh?
He's only 4 days. Look how he is. He's so active.
You wanna play cards?
He likes hanging out.
Let's hang out.
Yeah. He said, I had something to eat. I'm fine now for a while. I'm just gonna hang out with my parents. I'm just gonna chill out. Bless you. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. He won't let me go. I
No?
can't get out.
No?
I really can't. Look, he's so strong.
That's cute.
He will not let me go. He got a grip with his hands and with his mouth when he doesn't let you go. Once he's got you.
He's like octopus.
Yeah. But he gets you from his mouth too.
Shark attack. There's nothing coming out of that thing.
He said, what kind of a sick trick is this?
Give me milk.
He's not happy.
Grazie now.
He didn't like that. You wanna sit?
You want to say something to camera? To American people and people abroad?
You wanna sit on the camera?
Okay, say now you're bugging me. I cannot see his face. It's kind of weird how you're holding him. Yeah, I don't like that.
I think you have to hold his head up.
Hello, mister. You got a cutie pants.
He said, get that black thing off my belly button. My belly button's too cute for that weird thing hanging off of it.
I have to wait. So he's 4 days old? Wow. That's... He's so old. Ooh. He's a 4 days old. And daddy's 4 years old older. But I'm still cute too.
Yeah? Well, we don't know. We can't see you for a long time. We just see a mask. Let me turn the camera. Still that hickey? Hickey, hickey, hickey. Hey, Mousy. 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 Why are you such a mouse today? He's such a big mouse today. He's a cranky mouse. Okay. I guess you want to eat. I guess Mousy wants to eat. Okay, you got it?
Hi, Karen.
Okay. That's number one. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So, the two things that you need to know in order to know how to take a shot and get the exposure correct. There's two elements involved, shutter speed and aperture. Shutter speed is the amount of time that your lens is open. Aperture is how wide open your lens is. In other words, a small aperture, your lens is like this. When you open the aperture, it's like that. Now, the confusing thing is that the numbers are not intuitive, meaning that 2.8 is a low number, but that's actually when your aperture is the largest. So if you're at 2.8, the lens is open, it's really wide open, which means you can get a lot of light.
Makes a difference. You have different type of lenses also.
Some lenses open up even more to 1.8.
So what kind of lenses are you using for your job?
This is a zoom. This is a 17 to 35, 2.8. I also have a 50 millimeter, which is the one I use to take these pictures.
The close-up,
and that
right?
lens opens up to 1.8. So that gives me a whole extra stop of light, meaning the lens opens even wider, so it gets more light in. So that's really important for when you have a low light situation. But see, it's a trade-off. So now what happens is, okay, so the f-stop start at 2.8, right? I don't know if you're going to be able to record this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. So it starts at 2.8, right? That's over here. 2.8. The next stop is at 4.
Where's the 2.8?
Can you see it?
It's on a 4 now, huh?
There it is, yeah. See? The next stop is at 4. The next stop is 5.6. The next stop is 8. Next stop is 11. 16 to 22. Some cameras go up to 32, but this is the your basic lens. It's 2.8 to 22. Now, when you're at 2.8, your lens is all the way open. When you're at f22, your lens is all the way closed. It's only open a little bit. So the higher the number, the smaller the lens. So that's why it's a little bit confusing. The lower the number, the bigger the lens. So you just have to get used to this idea that when the lens is wide open, you have lower numbers. So now, the other element to consider when you're trying to figure out what f-stop to have it on is the plane of focus, which is technically called the depth of field. So depth of field is the range in the photo that the image is in focus. In other words, looking at this photo, you see that Little Pepper's nose is in focus, but back here, the window, which is really not far behind him, is very blurry. The reason for this is because it's on a really, it's on f2.8, which means it's a wide, so the lens is wide open, which means that the depth of field is very shallow. So if let's say I had taken this shot at f22, the lens would be really small, but not only would this be in focus, but this would be in focus also.
So that will look like this basically, right?
Right, exactly. So this was taken with flash, right? And it's the depth of field is very large because it's a point and shoot kind of situation. So this is in focus, which is the closest thing to the camera, and all the way far back here is also in focus. So this was shot at like f11, f16, or f22, whereas this was shot at f2.8.
So the next to it, huh?
Right, all of these were shot at very open aperture.
That was which
wide
lens?
open. That was with my 50 millimeter shot at f1.8.
No flash, right?
No flash. So that's one element. So now let me draw you a picture so it makes sense. So it's called depth of field. So let's say I took a picture. Right, we have a tree, right? We have a ball, and way back here, miles away, we have other trees, okay? If I took a picture of this tree at 2.8, the plane of focus is very narrow. In other words, this is in focus, and this is all blurry. If I took the same photo at f16, and I focused here, not only is this in focus, but this is in focus and this is in focus because the plane of focus is wider. In other words, it starts here and it goes all the way back here. So everything within the plane of focus is going to be in focus. So that's one thing to consider. Now, the other thing to consider is your shutter speed. Okay, so that's the next thing. So the way it works with the shutter speed, like I said, is a 60th of a second is the lowest shutter speed you can go in order to stop time. If you go lower than a 60th and the subject of your photo is moving, then there's going to be some blur. So we're doing a photography lesson.
She teach
You look
me.
pretty, Sharon.
You look nice on me.
You look really nice. So, now, after a 60th of a second, the next stop, which is, it's called a stop, is 1/125th of a second. The next one is 1/250th of a second. The next one is 1/500th of a second. Now, when you're going backwards, which means more time, so this is less time. This is the 60th of a second. This is half the time. So it's a stop less. This is half that time. So it's 2 stops less. And this, a 500th of a second, is half the time of a 250th of a second. So it's math. It's annoying. Below a 60th, you have a 30th. A 30th you can often get away with using a 30th if you keep the camera still and the subject of your photo is not moving too quickly. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's a good effect, you know. But a lot of times if you don't have a lot of light, you can get away with going to a 30th. Sometimes I go even lower than that and just hold the camera really still. After a 30th, you have a 15th, which is twice the time of that. Then you've got an 1/8, which is twice the time of that. Then you have a 1/4 of a second. Then you have 1/2 a second. Then you have 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds. And then it goes on that way. So this is twice the time as the numbers get smaller, bigger over here. And this is half the time, each one. And each one of these steps is called a stop. Okay, so if I say, go down 2 stops, you will, on your shutter speed, you'll go to 1/250th, right? And if you're at a 60th and I say open up 2 stops, you'll go to 1/15th. So the question is, so you have that. This is your shutter speed, and then you have your f-stops. So you've got 2.8, f4, 5.6, f8, f11, f16, and f22. Okay, so these are your 2 things. So now it's always a question of what combination are you going to use to get the exposure. Now, the interesting thing is that you can, let's say the exposure is perfect at a 60th of a second at f8, right? Now, you can go to a 30th of a second, which opens up the shutter speed twice the amount, right? So so now the shutter speed is it's taking, the camera is open for twice as much time as it was before at a 30th of a second. And the lens, in order to compensate for that, you want to close down the lens a stop to compensate for that. So if you go to a if the exposure is 1/60th of a second at f8 and you want to shoot it at 1/30th of a second, then you need to close down your lens to f11. So it's just a matter of doing the combination. Let's say you want to shoot at 1/25th. Let's say your object is moving really quickly and you want to make sure you capture it without any movement. So then you want to go up to 1/25th. Then you need to open up to f5.6. And that's basically it. So you can choose any combination once you get the correct thing, once you get the correct exposure. But the question is always, what are you sacrificing? So if you go down this way, you're sacrificing motion. In other words, either it's gonna be blurry because your hand is moving, or it's gonna be blurry because the subject is moving.
Just like, let's say they're dancing or...
Exactly. So then if you shoot too low, it's just going to be blurry. Now...
Like using that sometimes for your effect, right?
Exactly. It's a good effect to use, but that's with flash, which is a whole different thing, because that's when you freeze the motion, but then you get the blur afterwards. So that's a whole different story.
Right.
But now we're talking without flash. So that's one thing. And then the issue to consider when you're choosing your f-stop is, you know, the more open you get, the wider you open the lens, the shallower the depth of field. So if you shoot it at 2.8, then you realize that you know, this will be in focus, my hand, but the computer behind it will not be in focus, right?
Can you tell how far it's gonna get blurred?
You get a sense for it after a while. It's just a matter of shooting enough. So if I want to shoot something and it's really, like, let's say I have 3 people in a line and they're each like 5 feet apart, it's really important that that each of them is in focus, that I have the expression on each of their faces. Then I want to make sure I shoot at least f11 or f16 because I want all 3 people that are going backwards in a line to be in focus. If all I want to be in focus is an object, like let's say I want to take a photo of this, this is the only thing I care about. So I want to shoot this at f2.8 because I don't want anything in the background to distract it. I want the background to be blurry. So if I'm shooting this at f2.8, then chances are that my shutter speed is going to be a lot higher. In other words, a 60th or 1/25th or 1/250th of a second because I have to get the exposure correct.
It is possible, Karen, have it 3 people and have just the middle guy sharp and the first guy blurred and the last guy blurred? How you do that?
It's the same thing. You want
But
to
how you get the first one and last one blurred?
Because all you want to do is put it on a shallow depth of field, like 2.8 or 4.0, and you just focus
On that right
on
person.
wherever you want to focus. If you want to focus on the middle person, then the depth of field will be on that middle person, and everything in front of it and behind it is going to be blurry. So it's the same thing.
You just pop it open.
Yeah, so that's the essence of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is
Okay.
anything else? Any like suggestion tricks or what to watch out, what not to do when you're using the stops, and you know what to stay in the beginning away from?
Well, I think the best way to learn is to just take your camera out, a camera that has where you can change the f-stop and the shutter speed, and play with it and see what you get. So like, you can take a shot at, like I said, you figure out what the exposure is by looking inside, and you look at the, you can't do it, you can't look it on the video camera, but you hold the shutter speed halfway down, and you look at the bars, and if it's, what you want is you want the bar to be right in the middle. If it's going towards the minus, it's negative. If it's going towards the plus, it's going to be overexposed. Towards the negative, it's underexposed. So you want it to be in the middle. Once you get it in the middle, you look at what it is. So let's say this is in the middle, 30th of a second at f.4. That's your exposure. So if I don't want to shoot it at f.4, if I want to shoot it at f2.8, right? So I go to f2.8, and I go to a 60th of a second. Now this camera has a lot of little mini steps in between each stop, but these are the basic stops. So 2.8, f4, f5.6, f8. So I think that the way to really learn is to study this and to really make sure that you understand the relationship mathematically for each number. So if I say,
Milan doesn't understand mathematical relationships.
well, it's important. I'm not good at it either, but it's important. So if I say, what is the relationship between a 15th of a second and a 60th of a second? A 15th.
2 stops.
Right. It's 2 stops longer that the shutter is open. A 2/50th of a second is 2 stops less time. So it doubles. It doubles or it cuts in half. A 30th, a 15th, an 8th, a 4th, a half. A 60th, 1/25th, 2/50th, 1/500th. Same thing with the f-stops. F11 is 1 stop. The lens is 1 stop smaller than it is at f5.6. F4 is 2 stops more open than at f8.
When you, let's say, take picture outdoor and indoor, how much difference it makes in its
Very
settings?
big difference.
Like,
And
for
you have
example-
to have an idea of what it is. Like, okay, like if I'm shooting a wedding, right, and the bride's inside and all of a sudden she walks outside, I know right away that I need to change both f-stop and shutter speed in order to get it right, because it's going to be like, in other words, I could look outside right here, right, and I could tell you that there's like a 6 stop difference between the light in here and the light out there. It's just something that you learn in time. So if I knew that somebody was going to be walking from this room out there in a second, I would just quickly go like this and just go up to, you know, like f8, just like that, because I know that that's going to be about right, and then, you know, I can estimate from there. But with film, you have a 4 stop latitude. In other words, you can be 4 stops under or over, and get the shot. You could still make it, won't be as good, but you'll be able to get something. With digital, it's a lot. It's not as much. It's more like a 2-stop latitude. But with film, you always want to overexpose, and with digital, you always want to underexpose, because when you shoot digitally, you can always pump up the exposure, but if you overexpose something, there's no information there. So as long as you capture it, there's information, you can fix the exposure to be better, but if you overexpose, the information is gone.
So how you usually go if you want to...
I underexpose everything.
How much?
I don't know exactly. I just know the camera well enough to know.
Do you have an example?
Well, this camera is really cool because it has this thing. Okay, let me show you. Let me give you a good example. Hold on. Okay. You see how that's blinking?
Mm-hmm.
This camera has a great tool, which is that you can set it so that everything that's overexposed in the photograph will blink. So what I do is I make.
So what is the black is overexposed? Or
yeah, what's blinking is overexposed. So like, you see how that's blinking? That's overexposed because that's coming from outside. That's the light outside. So when I'm taking a picture, I want to get it so that the exposure is, so that it's not blinking, but it's like a stop or two before it's blinking.
How would you deal with that situation here?
Well, it depends what's important. If I'm trying to photograph the bunny and there's a window there, I don't want to expose for the window. I want to expose for the bunny. So it's okay that the window is going to be blown out. It's okay because that's not what's important. If I'm trying to photograph something that's outside and I'm getting it like this, that's a really big problem. I need to change my f-stop until I get it right. And so in that case, I would look inside and move the aperture until it was right in the middle.
How you get this flashing?
See?
Oh, wow.
And see that little flashing over there? That white is overexposed all the way over there. Who cares about that? But that's it. So
what is that button you can control that? So you can
control what?
See the overexposure, underexposure.
It's just this. You just move this like that just a few times, and then it does it for you.
To the right, you just go a few times.
Every camera is different. Some cameras don't have it. The Fuji S2 doesn't have it. But
That's a good feature, huh?
yeah, I really like it. But as long as you overexpose, it's okay. Like with film, if you underexpose, you're not capturing the information, so you're screwed. With digital, if you overexpose, you're not capturing the information, so it's the opposite. But obviously, you want to get as close to the right exposure as possible. But there's ways to save it, and it's always better to underexpose a little bit than to overexpose.
Well, thanks a lot.